So you plugged your power heads in, set them to your coral's favorite flow rate, and they seem to be working just fine until someone bumps the controller and changes your perfect flow. Your power head starts getting so dirty that your flow drops by 50% or more. Your pump takes a nosedive into your sand bed and stirs up months or years worth of garbage. Or your GFCI outlet or home's breaker box or your city power completely fails. Your tank and corals can survive most of these if you catch them early enough, but in those instances when your pumps stop working altogether, the clock begins to tick. However, there is something that you can do to catch these potential powerhead issues the moment that they happen, and today I'll show you how to use your Neptune Apex to monitor your powerhead's performance, notify you immediately if the pump is not functioning normally, and even improve its longevity to save you money in the long haul. Hi guys, Randy here with the BRStv guide to mastering your Neptune Apex controller, where we show you how to use your Apex to improve your equipment's performance and avoid a ton of inevitable issues that all reefers face. Today we're talking about powerheads and how you can use your Apex to keep track of their performance, stay on top of maintenance, avoid occasional accidents, and be alerted the minute a powerhead fails or the power goes out. Do you think your corals will suffer if they lost 50% or more flow from a powerhead that's overdue for cleaning? Would that prized LPS or your favorite SPS Acro survive an increase in flow if your pump speed accidentally changed? What if your powerhead splashed water out of the tank occasionally and you didn't catch it until the stand-in floors were already damaged, which is something that happened to the BRS 160? Is your sand bed a ticking time bomb that would explode if your powerhead stirred it up? And I think the most important question of them all: how would you know if your pumps failed completely or the power went out? For that matter, how would you know any of these common scenarios were happening in the first place? The answer is there are tools available to us to stay on top of powerhead issues, and today I'm going to show you how to solve all of them using 3 simple Apex functions by activating your Apex heartbeat, enabling power monitoring, and using ORP alarms. Along with that, we'll use leak detection sensors to avoid damaging your stand-in floors like this. We'll also set up your power heads to avoid them spraying water everywhere during a water change, and I'll show you an easier way to find that perfect flow pattern for your tank using Apex Ready Powerheads like gyres, tune streams, Reef octopus pumps, and the most Apex Ready powerhead of them all, the Neptune Wave. Now, before we do anything else, even before adding your powerhead to your Apex, there's one thing you must check to ensure you get immediate notifications if the power were to go out, because having adequate flow and gas exchange during a power outage is crucial to your tank's survival. Because we spend a majority of our time away from our tanks either at work, sleeping, or out enjoying ourselves, it's far more likely that you'll be away from your tank if a power outage were to happen. This is something that we learned the hard way on our own 750 XXL, sadly resulting in the loss of several fish and corals due to the lack of water circulation, until we learned how to solve it for good by using the Apex heartbeat, which will notify you if your Apex loses connection to your internet after a period of time, indicating that your GFCI, breaker box, or your entire home has lost power. I think the Apex heartbeat is one of the most valuable features your Apex has, because if it works one time, you can save your entire tank investment and pets' lives. So to turn your Apex heartbeat on, choose the drop-down menu at the top of the Fusion dashboard, either in the upper left corner of a desktop or upper right corner on mobile. Scroll down until you see the heartbeat and choose Enable if it's not enabled already. Because complete power failure is so mission critical, I also highly suggest that you test the alert to make sure it's functioning properly, which you can do by unplugging your Apex head unit until you get a notification. Next, let's talk about that pump that has seized or failed and catching it before it becomes a problem, while at the same time reducing major changes to your flow that could potentially harm your corals, and having a measurable pulse on your powerhead maintenance routine to not only extend the life of your pump, but also improve the overall stability of the tank with consistent flow day in and day out. We're going to add this type of monitoring protection by setting up Apex power usage alarms, but first, let's add your power heads to your Apex outlet by plugging it in, clicking on the gear icon for your power head outlet, renaming it something like I've done here, like Powerhead R, which is the power head on the right of my tank, choosing Advanced from the control type drop menu, and making sure your fallback and set are both on. So So you can repeat this for other power heads as well, but now you can use these outlets to set up power monitoring and solve multiple power head issues in one shot through alerts. If your pumps are slowing down or are gummed up and dirty, they will draw less power than normal. If somebody accidentally bumped up the controller speed or they're out of water, they could draw more than average power. And more importantly, if they are off completely, either by mistake or they simply died, they will have zero power draw altogether, and we can solve all of these with power usage alerts. This is another area where we learned the hard way, where it wasn't until a large SPS colony in the BRS-160 lost significant amounts of tissue before we realized that one of the pumps had become so gummed up it lost nearly all of its flow output, which we could have caught much earlier if we were monitoring the power output. So to turn on that power monitoring for your power heads, click on the task icon in your dashboard, search for the power usage alarm, choose the outlet for your pump, set your minimum and maximum wattage for high and low alerts, and hit send. The Apex will recommend high and low wattage ranges for you, so you don't have to guess, but it is best to give your power heads a few days to run so you can get a better idea of their normal cycles, and then allow the Apex to provide more accurate power alert ranges. Let's talk about those times when your power head magnet or suction cup fails, or your pump gets bumped, and it turns into a supercharged sand bed mixing machine, stirring up months or years worth of gunk and waste. The reality is not everyone's as diligent as it could be about cleaning the sand bed, so is there a way to know it has happened if you aren't around to see it yourself? Well, for those worst examples of this, you could use ORP monitoring and alerts to warn you that your pump has released the built up nasty gunk and detritus with just a few steps and the probe alarm task function. Find the probe alarm task in the menu, choose your ORP probe, choose a min and max ORP range for alerts, and push send. You can always come back to this task to refine those min and max ranges after your ORP has had a few days to measure your tank's normal ORP fluctuations. But if your power head takes a nosedive into the dirtiest sand bed and causes a major change to ORP, you will know. I also mentioned earlier that we damaged the BRS-160 stand from power head splashing water over the side of the tank due to it being mounted too high. In our case, the leak was an occasional drip over the edge of the glass, slow enough that we didn't catch it before it was too late and the stand was already damaged. But poor pump placement or a super powerful pump isn't the only way that water can splash outside of your tank. And if you've ever forgot to turn off your power heads until they were in the middle of a water change and they ended up spraying water all over the walls, yourself, or even worse, your lights, then this next Apex tip is for you. I think one of the handiest things you can have your Apex do is automatically turn unnecessary gear off during feedings, water changes, or maintenance inside the tank, and adding your power heads to the list of gear a feed mode will turn off will definitely save your lights from getting splashed. To add your power heads to a feed mode, just click the gear icon for the power head outlet and add a line that says if feed D000, then off. I always choose feed D for my maintenance modes, which you can change for yourself, but now your pumps will be set to go off when this is activated. By default, each of the 4 modes are set to run for only 5 minutes. However, if that's not enough time for you, you can tailor that default anywhere from 1 to 999 minutes by choosing the miscellaneous setup wrench icon from your dashboard and adjusting your feed mode time in seconds. So if saving your stand and floors from damage is important to you, which it likely is for a majority of reefers, you can add even more protection using the Neptune LDK leak detection kit to catch splashing water that isn't so obvious. Just place your leak sensors from the kit near the edges of your stand or underneath the carpet, plug them into the FMM module, and follow a few LDK task function steps to set up automatic alerts if they detect water on the floor, which is not only simple, but could save you from heavy repair costs in the long run. Speaking of making things simpler, how easy was it or difficult was it for you to pick a flow mode or program a schedule for your power heads? Did you just run them at one speed all day, every day, or do you seek out power heads that allow you to vary the flow in your tank? Well, if you have Apex Ready pumps with 0 to 10 volt control, there are some hidden gems inside the Apex that you can use to make this process a whole lot easier. With your Apex Ready Powerhead hooked into your variable speed outlet on your Apex head unit or VDM module, you can use the variable speed outlet to access a graph-like wizard that allows you to change up your flow multiple times throughout the day, or if you'd like to have somebody else do the work for you, you can browse the library of schemes that fellow Apex reefers have shared by accessing the download scheme icon at the top of the wizard and searching for one that fits your tank. It's also important to point out the copy feature in the wizard, where instead of having to manually configure a second or third pump schedule, you can simply copy a pump that you already set and just save it to the others. Of course, you can take your Powerhead control to that next level with the Neptune Wave, which not only has its own library of shared schemes and ability to choose multiple flow points throughout the day, but the Wave also has 7 advanced flow mode types that vary the flow pattern for you, and you mix and match them for your tank needs. Along with that, because the Wave can immediately detect when it's out of water and shut itself off, you can skip that feed mode maintenance tip that we set up earlier and also avoid having to remember to turn the Wave outlet off when it comes time to clean them, because they simply won't run when they're out of water. I think this is a super valuable feature that makes the Wave one of the smartest power heads you can add to your Apex, but as we are learning throughout this Master Your Apex series, the real benefit of the Apex specific accessories are the additional monitoring alerts that you get with them connected. The Wave specifically not only has the same safety and protection and alerts that we added earlier, but they also include alerts for internal temp, voltage, and stall errors that will notify you of the symptoms of a pump failure before it happens and turn itself off. One of the best examples of Apex additional safety measures was in our auto top-off episode with the Neptune ATK and that sweet little trick that I shared for an ATO reservoir on autopilot that fills itself without having to lift a finger, which you should check out right over here. Or you can catch the entire Master Your Neptune Apex series in this playlist right over here.